Hello, hello, hello. This is Gresh from the I Am CEO podcast, and I have a very special guest on the show today. I have Matt Gottsman, mattgottsman.com. Matt, it's awesome to have you on the show.
Thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it. I appreciate your time too.
Yeah, I appreciate your time, and I appreciate all the awesome things that you're doing. And what I wanted to do is just read a little bit more about Matt so you can hear about all those awesome things I was talking about. And Matt builds powerful, impactful brands and partners with others to do the same. He's a purpose-driven entrepreneur, a leading international business strategist and brand architect focusing on luxury, lifestyle, health and wellness, cannabis, tech, fashion, arts, and entertainment. He's worked and partnered with some of the world's most prestigious brands under the Louis Vuitton Moet Hennessy conglomerate, such as KRUG Champagne and Ruinart Champagne, as well as others to the likes of Cadillac and the World Trade Center Association. With 2 international business degrees, including MBA from Thunderbird, the #1 school for international business, 20 plus years experience in international or internet technology, 10 plus years in branding, he's built a reputation for positioning brands for high visibility and scale, as well as maximum efficiency. He's also the owner of an online media company that houses a digital publication, Hustle and Deal Flow. A Forbes featured podcast, The Hustle, sold separately, and his social media reaches millions, starting with his insanely engaging Instagram account at HDF Magazine. He's currently also the co-founder of Cannabis Magazine, the #1 online destination for industry news, and the newly launched Cannabis Magazine podcast. When Matt isn't building brands or partnering with others, he mentors creative entrepreneurs all over the world via the web and has also created several online programs that help you scale your company's overall growth internationally and systematically. Matt, it's awesome to have you on the show. You're ready to speak to the IMCO community.
Thank you. It's always crazy when somebody else reads all the different things going on in your world. You don't even realize sometimes how much is actually going on until somebody says so, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. I can't imagine that you sleep much, but appreciate you taking some time out to have a conversation. I wanted to drill a little bit deeper. I know I touched on it a little bit, but I want to hear about what I call your CEO story, and we'll let you start your business.
Yeah, so I ironically never really worked for anybody. And that started at 2021. Now I had a lot of jobs up until then, I started very early, learning work. My pops was all like, hey, you need to learn to work. So at a very, very young age, I definitely had jobs, always, right? But I realized real quickly on that I didn't have a corporate mentality. I love playing with others and I love creating and collaborating. But I'm at an age, I'm in my late 30s where that time frame, that shift, that millennial shift was just starting to happen more. The LinkedIn's didn't exist, right? Facebook didn't exist. All these companies didn't exist. So it was that idea of corporate culture was still very, very, linear. And I would try to be able to kind of mesh in there, and I didn't. And that's okay. And so I had my first startup in my early 20s. It was a digital music startup, epic failure. And it was amazing because it taught me everything I needed to know about tech and digital and engineering and design and copywriting and digital marketing, all that stuff. So really that was, that kind of became the start of me first running my own company from a consultancy side. And I started working with all kinds of brands, and then I went back to school, and then I got referred to Louis Vuitton Moet Hennessy, and really, it was just kind of always put into these positions where they're like, "Hey, we don't understand this stuff. Explain it." So it was cool to be my own, kind of have my own consultancy, but even then, you learn a lot about what happens when you work with brands and that relationship, right? Because real quickly, other companies want to absorb you like an employee, not recognizing that you're a third party person there to help, unbiased, get them out of their own way, right?
Right.
So that was interesting, as you're almost like a CEO talking to other CEOs and other CMOs, and there's a lot of trust that goes on in there.
Right.
That is not always, easy because it's other people's baby. It's their brands, right? So, so to shorten that, about 5 years ago, besides being a consultant, I knew I wanted to build something of my own that, again, I recognize where content marketing and influencer marketing before they were calling it influencer was going. And ultimately, I wanted my own distribution, no different than what you have with your podcasts and publications and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
When you have the audience's attention and you treat them really, really well, then you can really grow companies and brands and impact. And you can learn from them, what they're needing, right? And so for me, the next level of like how I would conduct myself as a CEO is how am I connected to the audience and understanding what they need and learning from them and seeing what is in my lane that I can deliver to them. And so yes, the podcast, the publications, everything just kind of kaboom.
Exactly. Bam. No, that's absolutely awesome. And it's crazy to kind of think, and you being, ahead of the curve, how you can go to direct to consumer. You don't necessarily need to go through like a brand or a company or anything. Like you have your own podcast, you have your own Instagram handle, website, so on and so forth, where you can have that direct conversation and figure out what clients are looking for, but also provide that for them.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny because we live in such a transparent time now, which I like, you like, I think a lot of our generation likes. That's not always easy for a lot of brands because the old narrative was we have to look perfect. The new narrative is very lean startup. It's like, it's not perfect, but I'm just going to show you like with my phone, like right in front of you, this might or might not work. And then like the world rallies around that, right? That vulnerability. Yeah. So it's a changing landscape. So that's kind of where also things have changed so much, even with companies, like the more that they can understand that level of authenticity and vulnerability, like the faster their initiatives skyrocket. So it's interesting,
Yeah, I think that anytime we kind of close the door and we realize none of us are really actually perfect. And I think people start to rally around that because when you see a brand or somebody that's just building something, maybe even from day one or less than day one, you start to, like you say, rally around that and get a better understanding. So I know we touched a little bit upon some of the projects and things that you're working on. Could you tell us a little bit more and drill down on what exactly you're doing to help support the clients you're working with?
Yeah, the clients or the personal stuff?
The clients, and then also like even like the podcast, everything you're doing from a media standpoint, like who is that serving?
Yeah, so it's a bit of a transitional time in such a beautiful way. I'm still working with clients. I love working with brands. It's just that sometimes when you work with brands, you can only work with so many people. If you're really impacting their customer, that's awesome. But I've also realized like how many entrepreneurs have hit me up and they're like, how do you do all this stuff? But also like on the business side, like the legal, the accounting, the bookkeeping, the paid advertise, like beyond just the beautiful content online. They're like, how do you actually do like all this stuff? So there's that transition of like really wanting to serve the fast growth entrepreneurs or the passionate driven entrepreneurs that are like, I need to run my brand like a business. How do I run like a business and systemize? And that's why I said that there was said in the bio about like now helping entrepreneurs really understand that we're living in a gig economy. And in this new gig economy, whatever it is that you want, whether it's physical products or digital products and services, whatever it might be, like you now can build an entire, company and brand around that very efficiently when you use the right foundation and system. I had to also learn what happens when you have the wrong foundation or no systems. And so I became very passionate about that because I started doing it for myself. And then I realized, oh shit, like there's a lot of people who really need this help. But for clients, a lot of times we'll go in as a team and they need help. Like, imagine if like you take over an entire arm of a company. So a lot of times the company's broken down to like operations, right? Manufacturing, distribution, marketing, branding, media. You've got all these different, sections of a company, right? We almost come in like an arm of the company and say, all right, we're going to handle your branding, your media, your marketing, your positioning, all of that stuff. And when I say marketing, I don't mean like, sometimes I think that's an abused, misused term, like results-driven, data-driven, ROI-driven marketing. For every dollar that goes out, I want to know how much money comes back in. I want to know what our sales funnels are. I want to know if we have to set that up, we'll set all those up. We want to establish everything to take companies and push them past, a certain dollar amount. So for example, a lot of times we work with companies in that 7-figure range, but they're trying to break into 8.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you go from 5, 6, 7 million to like 20, 30, 40, 50, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a series of optimizing your processes. That's actually where I first really started learning that, is like when you optimize all of your different processes and you really, really understand like the user experience and the customer experience, and then just make it even easier for them. But then you also apply, like the content marketing, right? The influencer stuff, like talking to them, engaging with them, doing media and educating them. Then it drives significant awareness, and then you can drive them right into your kind of whole optimized funnel, if you will, of any operation. So we do that for companies. And then I was like, you know what? I think I also want to do that for entrepreneurs too. I saw a lot of people online doing it. I'm sure you have. You see the online entrepreneurs and all that stuff, and I felt like there was something missing. When it's cool, I think it's amazing to teach people like, hey, here's how you can do a webinar. Or, hey, here's how you can make more money online. That's awesome. But is anybody teaching them like what happens when you make that money? Like, how are you doing your bookkeeping?
Yeah.
How are you, like, what are you doing with the cash flow? Do you have all your legal agreements in place?
Mm-hmm.
What's the system like running on? Where's that? So you taught automation, but then what? What are all the different components?
Yeah.
And so I said, all right, let me make a holistic business school, if you will, in this gig economy, and let's just bring in all these amazing people as well too, to help as well. And you mentioned the podcast. The podcast is up over about 2.5 million downloads.
Nice.
And I bring on people from around the world that are they're entrepreneurs, they're creatives, they're Grammy winners, they're Oscar winners, Emmy winners, they're athletes. The caveat is that they can't talk about end success. They have to talk about what they're learning in real time. And so it doesn't matter if it's like their first venture, their 50th venture. Like they got to actually talk about like, hey, oh shoot, like I have 5 employees now, I'm going to 20. I'm figuring that all out,
Right.
And a lot of those people, by talking about their brands and the things that they're learning, those kind of relationships, some of them have also said like, hey, like, what do you need in teaching other entrepreneurs? All of all of these processes or these specialties. And I'm like, I'll get back to you on that. So that's kind of how like this stuff started all kind of coming together. At the end of the day, the mission is always the same. How do you make the world's creative and entrepreneurs feel less alone in the journey? How do you connect them more globally as a community to thrive sustainably? And how do you be a part of their journeys and give them platforms to kind of keep elevating what they're doing as well too, right? So yeah, that was a little bit of a rant, but you get it.
No, I love that, and I love the buzzword. That it's funny that when you said it, I was thinking about that, kind of like that holistic approach, because sometimes you can have one, I guess, rung of your seat or whatever taken care of, and then you don't have the other two. So you're taken care of, you have all this business coming in, but you're not doing your bookkeeping. You don't have your legal stuff in place. But it's great that you've been dedicating yourself to holistically look at all those things, so that it's not just one thing; it's everything that can help make you successful.
Yeah. I mean, and knowing what you're really good at. So I have really great, smart people around me, and not everybody has that. And I know like one-offs, people ask me all the time, like, oh, like, who do you use for a lawyer? How do you get your trademark done? Who do you use for bookkeeping? Things like that, that I was like, you know what? Let me build a platform around that, because it's not just me. I have really great people, and let me bring those people in and say, okay, like, here's the stuff I'm exceptional at that I want to help. But then here are the people who complement that, and I couldn't do it without them there too, in their individual lane and niche. So let's all come together and help.
Nice. And now I wanted to ask you for what I call like your secret sauce. And this is what you feel kind of distinguishes you or your organization and kind of sets you apart and makes you different and unique.
So I do all right, there's actually a couple things that are very, very secret sauce-esque. I like that, by the way. For me, with like, especially when it comes to a brand, it's all energy. I'm doing it all off of energy. And I know that like typically people say, oh, okay, like, let's just get to your brand mission. Like, let's just get to your, let's just write a quick message. But no, like I say that like you got to go to the soul level of the person who's creating it. And so when you do that, you have a whole other experience that happens. And so I definitely do everything at the energetic level. I'll never force anything. It's all off of a feeling and a vibe. And that's not always easy to replicate. So obviously, but that's why I've ended up working with so many really great individuals and brands and companies, because they're like, how do you do it? I'm like, you know, it's an intuitive, energetic thing. Like, and it's getting to the core of the person, right? So like, I'll talk with the CEO and I'm like, why are you doing this, man? Like, oh, you know, well, it's great for this product to do this. And I was like, no. Like,
what's your why?
Why are you doing this?
Yeah.
And it's interesting because if you go to that level, you actually start to get into their background and you go all the way sometimes back to their childhood. You start to realize they were almost grooming themselves mentally, energetically, spiritually, whatever, for the position that they're in now, one way or another, whether they were doing it consciously or subconsciously. So then you get to start to understand the story of their entire approach. And I was like, yeah, see, like when you talk like that or when you message like that, boom, like that's when you connect with the audience and they just skyrocket. So being present and really understanding people from an energetic level, I can actually help them with their brands go like way beyond what they had even anticipated and actually make it easier. But then of course it's coming out of their kind of comfort zone of like, this can't be scripted. It's got to be authentic. So I think there's definitely that. And then I don't do any of this stuff scripted in general. So like the podcast, I'm definitely prepared. I think you should know about your guests. If I go into a business meeting or into any type of setting, it's respectful to know exactly who you are talking to and a bit of their background. Then I think it's about being present, like completely being present. When you talk directly to the people and you listen to them and you keep asking questions just like you're doing here and, you know, and I do on the podcast and I do in meetings, then you can really understand their intentions, their, you know, where they're coming from, what they're doing, all that stuff. And you can really solve problems much quicker and get to like the core of things much faster. So definitely, I think it's this kind of the secret sauce really is injecting energy and spirituality into business. I've done that. I've been known kind of do that. Like people kind of feel that vibe through the whole HDF magazine on Instagram. And yeah, it's just kind of how do you interject the two worlds you know, operate from a place like that.
Yeah, and it's definitely, you know, easier said than done because, you know, it's hard to kind of force that. You have to kind of authentically do that and have it organically happen where you're able to do that, not just, you know, within the social media brands and everything that you build, but also in a face-to-face conversation or an interview or wherever it is. You have to kind of be that authentic self and be able to drill into that and then help others be able to do that. And you can't just do that from just doing anything. So that makes perfect sense. And I wanted to switch gears a little bit and ask you for what I call a CEO hack. And this might be an app, a book, or a habit that you have, but it's something that makes you more effective and efficient.
Ooh, there's a few.
Okay.
Okay, so this is I'll tell you, there's a couple game changers. Number one, calendar. Every Sunday night, I actually look at the week ahead. I don't have to know all the tasks. That's fine. But what I tell people to do, and I do this, is I block off what I'm going to be doing during those times, including like meditation, yoga, working out, hikes, you know, whatever, breakfast, all that stuff. I put that all in there. The following Sunday, I actually look and see how effective it really, that schedule was for me. So instead of feeling overwhelmed all the time of like, oh, I didn't stick to this, you know, I will actually go back and say, oh, okay, like this seemed to work for me. This didn't. Right. Let me rearrange these pieces. And doing that allows me, you know, to kind of self-optimize along the way. And it's a game changer because the more you know what you're doing with your time, the more you start to respect it. And the more you respect it, the more you can accomplish what you want to accomplish for you. You start getting rid of the distractions, the noise real fast because you're aware now. It's different if you're just kind of like, especially as an entrepreneur, all over the place every day, man, once you start realizing where your time is going and you start looking at it and you start auditing it, oh, that's like a game changer, because there's no, like, especially because of what you're doing with your time, there's no way you're going to want to let anybody come in and hinder that. You just did the work to optimize your time. Why would you let anybody else distract you, right, at that point? So it definitely, plays on you. Another really key thing is I've got one of these big, massive whiteboards on my wall. I got one of those like black glass quartet boards. I love it.
Nice.
Growth hack. You can buy it from digitalbuyer.com. A quartet normally is like $700. I got it for like $225. This thing is like 48 by 60. It's massive. I should probably show you. Now I write all kinds of stuff down. On the edges, I put like mission and goals and vision, things that are going to stay for a while. In the middle, it's all the stuff that is ongoing that I need to get done. Now, I don't have to look at it every day. That's not the purpose, but I put it in a place in the house where, like, vibrationally, it's always kind of in front of me. The interesting thing is I've had this now for about 5 months, and I'm on my third board. I had to erase stuff because it all got done. It was the weirdest thing to look up and be like, that actually got done. Right. I mean, things that I was like, how the hell am I going to get all that done, right? And all of a sudden, I'll look up. I'm like, oh my God, like, I got it all done. Mm-hmm. And then I would erase and put up more stuff. It's actually now becoming more exciting for me, because there's not the pressure of, I got to get this, I got to get this done. It's more exciting because I know that, oh, it's getting done. Right. And one of these days, one of these months, I'll look up and I'll have to erase it again because it all got done.
Yeah.
So it's sort of like what who was it that who said that I'm trying to remember the famous quote, but it was it was like, write it down. Not Alicia Keys, but it was like somebody of that magnitude and in that space that said, write it down. Oh, Erykah Badu. Write it down, there's something that happens when you actually write pen to paper or like pen to board. Something happens in manifesting it. It just does. So I say put it on a board in front of a place in the house where, like, energetically, it's always kind of top of mind, even if you're not looking at it.
Yeah, no, it's definitely powerful. And a lot of times you can just increase your likelihood of reaching whatever goal it is just by writing it down. And like you said, on a subtle level, even like I have stuff on my mirror. So whether I'm brushing my teeth, whatever it is, I have my goals down literally everywhere, so that energetically you're automatically always thinking about it, regardless of what situation you're in. And once you see it, even if you're not directly looking at it, it's speaking to you and you're speaking to it. So I think that's a great couple of CEO hacks. And now I wanted to ask you for what I call a CEO nugget. And you might have already touched on this. And this is a word of wisdom or a piece of advice, or if you can hop into a time machine, what would you tell your younger business self?
Oh, I haven't touched on that. If I could hop into a time machine and talk to my younger self, there's a few things. I would get rid of the distractions as quickly as possible. I always had a strong work ethic, but I would have definitely dove deeper into the details of the process for one thing at a time, and just focused on one thing at a time in the process. I think you hear a lot of entrepreneurs say, like, oh, embrace the process, love the process. Like, you hear all the same things, but nobody ever actually talks about, like, what that really, really, really means. Like, I mean, like, and I always give that analogy of, if you can go into a garage and instead of just asking for the keys to a Ferrari, ask them if you can help build the engine with them so you know how it works, right? Like, really, really get to know how the engine is built by building it yourself, understanding all the intricate details. So I'd be just a little bit more focused on the processes. And also, I would say be even more mobile. Go wherever you need to go to surround yourself with the right people very early on. I always had good people around me, but for some of the things that I needed to accomplish and do, I needed probably maybe like another geographic location. For me, it might have just been like a geographic location, right? Mm-hmm. So go find wherever the people are that are closest to the things that you want to do, and go do that. I probably wouldn't, I have no regrets. I would never go back and change anything. But being a CEO very early on, I think what I would have done differently is I would have gone to a very specific person that I admired in a very specific industry I wanted to be in. And I don't care if I worked for them for free or whatever, I would make it work. And I'd be like, I want to learn everything that you have to offer, and I'll do the work for you. Whatever you tell me to do, I'll do it. And then that way, like, you know, one day I can do the same, you know, what you do. I would hands down, like any young, you know, CEO or entrepreneur or anything, I would say like, go do that right now, immediately, because it's priceless. Like if you can get around that kind of person, and they look at, by the way, most successful people want to help people. They actually want to help people. The issue is that not a lot of people want to do the work, or they want to just kind of take. They don't understand how the value exchange goes. You're going to a very high profile person and asking them to teach you is fine, but be prepared to do the work, like whatever they ask with no ego, like kind of a whole Mr. Miyagi Danielson Karate Kid thing.
Right.
Like I think if you take that approach, you're going to be golden, like easily. You're going to shave off years, connections, networks, locations, getting in wherever you want to get in. You're going to shave off like an entire lifetime by doing that, and probably within a few years. So I would recommend that.
Yeah, definitely. And a lot of times that knowledge and that information, just like we were talking about energetically, when you're around that person, but you're also seeing exactly what they're doing, it starts to increase your likelihood of being successful, which is, of course, what a lot of people are looking to do. So I appreciate you for sharing that with us. And now I want to ask you my absolute favorite question, and it's the definition of what it means to be a CEO. And we're hoping to have different quote unquote CEOs on the show. So Matt, I wanted to ask you, what does being a CEO mean to you?
I think a CEO, actually, I know a CEO means stepping into who you really are, into your truth. I think it means patience, humility, humbleness, leadership. I think that we are all here to serve. When you act from a place of um, serving your customers, serving your team, it has a trickle down effect for success. I believe that we have to embrace doing the work as an example so that other people will follow suit. If I work hard and smart, then so too will my team, or so too will the people I educate or teach. We have to set ourselves as an example. So, because it's absorbable what we do. Everything is absorbable. And everything that we do also attracts everybody that comes around us. So I think we have to be, so I think also I know a keen sense of self-awareness. You have to be so self-aware of how you can better yourself, how you can, better position yourself, better educate yourself, and just your overall approach to life. Being a CEO is not an easy thing. It doesn't have to be a difficult thing. It's just not an easy thing. And so there's that famous quote that it doesn't get easier, you just get better. It's true, because you start to learn how to move differently and how to make better decisions quickly, and to detach yourself from an emotional decision and move more into just doing a right decision, right? An intuitive decision. And so I know that that's also really important as a CEO. And yeah, and I definitely think patience, and in the self-awareness, no ego. You can have swag, that's fine. I think you should have confidence. You definitely need confidence to lead, because I think it takes a hell of a lot of strength to be able to make decisions and deal with whatever outcome that comes from those decisions. But I also know you got to drop the ego, because you can't get to where you want to go with an ego. You just can't. Like, you're not going to have the best CEO or the best coach or the best anything in the world help you when you have an ego. It's not going to happen. They're not going to. Why would they give you that kind of time? They're not. So you have to learn to drop the ego as well.
Absolutely, and that all helps you to propel yourself towards that extreme, to being extremely successful when you're able to drop that ego and you're able to humble yourself and sometimes have that confidence, but at the same time understand that you can still learn things and still be better. So, Matt, I truly appreciate your time. What I wanted to do is pass you the mic just to see if there's anything additional you can let our readers and our listeners know, and then of course how they can find you, subscribe to your podcast, and hear about all the awesome things that you're doing.
Yeah, no, thank you. Anybody that wants to reach out, personally, mattgottesman.com, mattgottesman.com. I am, very communicative on Instagram. I reply to every single comment on my wall, DM, you name it. So H as in Henry, D as in dog, F as in Frank, HDF Magazine on Instagram. You can check out the blog, hdfmagazine.com. We have a podcast, obviously, called The Hustle Sold Separately. And, we're on iTunes and Spotify and Google Play and iHeart and all of your major platforms, all platforms really. Love when people reach out through there. And, they can reach out to me on any of those platforms, and I'm very engaging. Facebook, I'm there as well too, Matt Gottesman Official, or just Matt Gottesman. And, thanks for being thanks for allowing me to be on your show, man. I really, really, really appreciate it.
No problem. No, I truly appreciate you, not just for, your time you had today, but everything awesome that you're doing. And we'll make sure to have all those links in the show notes just so that anybody can follow up with you and subscribe to the podcast and everything like that. But again, appreciate you again. I hope you have a phenomenal rest of the day.
Thank you, Gresham. I appreciate you too.